Our political panel back on this. Rich Lowry, the editor-in-chief of National Review; Kurt Bardella, Democratic strategist, NewsNation contributor, LA Times contributor. You know, we talked earlier, guys, about Michigan in the show, and it's interesting that Kelly says there's other states. I want to put up right away an article from a fine publication, the National Review, that says, and I quote from the title, "It's not just Michigan. Biden may be worried about Minnesota, too." This appeared on Monday. Vice President Harris is in Minnesota today. Rich, you know, it's interesting. You know, there's a lot's been made about. She said the first appearance by her president or vice president at a clinic that performs abortion procedures. But Minnesota, is that a swing state again? No, right?
You know, it's on the cusp of competitiveness at times, but I would say upper Midwest, you know, it's Michigan and Wisconsin, probably more Wisconsin than Michigan. Michigan has a little bit more of a Democratic coloration than Wisconsin, but it just shows where Democrats think the issue of abortion is, that she's actually going to an abortion clinic. And on the other side of the ledger, Trump has been just walking with cat's feet on this issue and hasn't come out yet and told us where he is on potential national legislation. Right.
Is that still the issue? I mean, Kurt, you've talked about this, how it's driven, you know, turnout. We have some polling, by the way. Kamala Harris, it'll be interesting to see what her role is on this in this campaign, particularly on this issue. Her approval rating by party Democrats, 76%, independents, 28%. Of course, Republicans is going to be low. But she seems to be more aggressive on, certainly on the war and on reproductive rights. Your thoughts on the issues and also her role in those issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, this issue, abortion, women's rights, this is kryptonite for Republicans. They have, after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, have still not yet come up with a vocabulary that really works. And in fact, every time that the issue surfaces, it's really because something extreme happens, like what we saw in Alabama, that puts Republicans on the defensive. And they've stayed on the defensive now for a couple of years, it feels like, in terms of what the midterms look like, some of the special elections that we have had, some of the ballot initiatives we've seen, even in red states like in Kentucky, during the off-year election, we saw Democrats do better there than you would think at a time where the economy wasn't doing great, where the president's approval rating was underwater, yet somehow in election after election, Democrats are overperforming, and that is singularly because of the abortion women's rights issue. And Republicans, they telegraph it every time. They don't know how to talk about it. That's why they put Katie Britt in the kitchen in the first place. And it tells you that Kamala Harris is really the perfect person right now to have a female vice president at this moment in time, with this issue being what it is. Republicans are trying to find their version of that. They have yet to do so.
Well, you're right that it's been a winning issue for Democrats. We'll see how it is in this election cycle, especially on the turnout side. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is third party a little bit. Obviously, the news over the last couple of days, we've been focused on the RFK stuff and Aaron Rodgers, which has been a weird situation, to put it mildly. And, you know, this, whether he's put, I don't know what to say about that.
Hey, Jesse Ventura, Minnesota.
Jesse the body and the whole thing. But RFK and other third-party candidates and the impact they might have in these states, you know, like a Michigan where it's been so close. Washington Post, here it is. Biden allies form a new group to coordinate attacks on third-party candidates. So they must be taking all of this pretty seriously, Rich. Who is it more of a threat to?
I think it's more of a threat to Biden. I think they're right to be worried. You know, RFK, if you just focus on what he says and kind of his anti-establishment stance, you'd think he's taking more from Trump, but just the Kennedy name and the heritage, I think he's a threat to Biden. And of course, Jill Stein and Cornel West, that we can't totally dismiss, are also more of a threat to Biden. So I would say the theme of today, between the Harris visit to the abortion clinic and Chuck Schumer's speech just totally slamming Bibi Netanyahu, shows how worried the Democrats are about placating the left. And the whole approach, we saw this in the State of the Union, is a base play. They want to reassure and gin up their base. This is not a persuasion strategy. It's not a win the middle of the electric strategy.
No, I agree. And I think that we've had Cornel West on a bunch of times, Kurt, and I agree with Rich. You can't dismiss it because, you know, Michigan could come down to 10,000 votes. You're saying that Cornel West couldn't have an impact at a state where it's 10,000 votes one way or the other. But the real issue is probably RFK. And it is funny because the polling early on, to Rich's point, was telling us he's probably going to take more from Trump. You think issues-wise that would be the case, but it seems like Democrats are worried. Maybe it's the Kennedy name, or what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also why there's consternation of the idea of Aaron Rodgers, who obviously, with his long career at the Green Bay Packers, would be interesting what that politically would mean in the swing state of Wisconsin. Jesse Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota, obviously what that might mean for Minnesota and pulling votes away from Biden. And I think that you're looking at some of the personnel moves. They announced today, the Democratic National Committee of the DNC, that one of the top operatives in the Democratic Party, Liz Smith, is spearheading the communications effort to try to take on these third-party candidates, get much more aggressive.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, Liz was one of the comms masterminds behind Pete Buttigieg's rise from obscurity to national name. So they're bringing out the big guns, and that tells you the level of seriousness that they're certainly taking this.
Last topic. I want to get you guys to both weigh in, if we can, on this whole TikTok thing. We were talking with Doug Flitt about the financial side and whether this Mnuchin puts together a group to buy it. I don't know. But on the political side, Politico wrote an article about how it's, quote unquote, foolish to go after TikTok in an election year where some of the Trump allies, Rich, seeing an upside in the feud. So it's kind of interesting to see how all this is played out. Anytime we talked yesterday about Donald Trump and AOC on the same side of an issue seems a little weird. But what do you make of the politics of TikTok?
There have been some strange bedfellows here, but big House majority in favor of trying to force the sale, which I think is absolutely the right policy. It's not a free speech thing; it's a national security thing. But going to have a harder time in the Senate. I just don't think at the end of the day, young people are going to vote on TikTok. If TikTok goes away, which doesn't necessarily have to happen if it's just sold
right.
to another company, they'll pick up some other app or migrate somewhere else and aren't going to tromp to the polls to wreak revenge on whoever the offending party.
I don't know. Maybe they love their TikTok, but to your point, if it's sold, I don't think they care who owns it. That's probably the right, or there could be the conclusion. Kurt and Rich, we do have to leave it there for time right now, but we appreciate all the time for both of you today.